Acts chapter 25. 3 days after Festus arrived, he went up from Caesarea to Jerusalem. There the chief priests and the Jewish leaders came to Festus. They brought their charges against Paul. They tried very hard to get Festus to have Paul taken to Jerusalem. They asked for this as a favor. They were planning to hide and attack Paul along the way. They wanted to kill him. Festus answered, Paul is being held at Caesarea. Soon I will be going there myself. Let some of your leaders come with me. If the man has done anything wrong, they can bring charges against him there. Festus spent 8 or 10 days in Jerusalem with them. And then he went down to Caesarea. The next day he called the court together. He ordered Paul to be brought to him. When Paul arrived, the Jews who had come down from Jerusalem stood around him. They brought many strong charges against him, but they couldn't prove that these charges were true. Then Paul spoke up for himself. He said, I've done nothing wrong against the law of the Jews or against the temple. I've done nothing wrong against Caesar. But Festus wanted to do the Jews a favor. So he said to Paul, Are you willing to go up to Jerusalem? Are you willing to go on a trial there? Are you willing to face these charges in my court? Paul answered, I'm already standing in Caesar's court. This is where I should go on trial. I have done anything wrong to the Jews. You yourself know that very well. If I were guilty of anything worthy of death, I'm willing to die. But the charges brought against me by these Jews are not true. No one has the right to hand me over to them. I make my appeal to Caesar. Festus talked it over with the members of his court. Then he said, You have made appeal to Caesar. To Caesar you will go. A few days later, King Agrippa and Bernice arrived in Caesarea. They came to pay a visit to Festus. They were spending many days there, so Festus talked with the king about Paul's case. He said, There's a man here that Felix left as a prisoner. When I went to Jerusalem, the Jews' chief priests and the elders brought charges against the man. They wanted him to be found guilty. I told them that this is not the way Romans do things. We don't judge people before they had faced those bringing charges against them. They must have a chance to argue against the charges for themselves. When the Jewish leaders came back with me, I didn't waste any time. I called the court together the next day. I ordered the man to be brought in. Those bringing charges against him got up to speak, but they didn't charge him with any of the crimes I had expected. Instead, they argued with him about their own belief. They didn't agree about a man named Jesus. They said Jesus was dead, but Paul claimed Jesus was alive. I had no idea how to look into such matters. So I asked Paul if he would be willing to go to Jerusalem, then there he could be tried on these charges. But Paul made an appeal to have the emperor decide his case. So I ordered him to be held until I could send him to Caesar. Then Agrippa said to Festus, I would like to hear this man myself. Festus replied, Tomorrow you will hear him. The next day, Agrippa and Bernice arrived. They were treated like very important people. They entered the courtroom. The most important military officers and the leading men of the city came with them. When Festus gave the command, Paul was brought in. Festus said, King Agrippa and everyone else here, take a good look at this man. A large number of Jews have come to me about him. They came to me in Jerusalem and also here in Caesarea. They kept shouting that he shouldn't live any longer. I have found that he hasn't done anything worthy of death, but he made his appeal to the emperor. So I decided to send him to Rome. I don't have anything certain to write about him to His Majesty, so I have brought him here today. Now all of you will be able to hear him. King Agrippa, it will also be very good for you to hear him. As a result of this hearing, I will have something to write. It doesn't make sense to send a prisoner onto Rome without listing the charges against him. Acts chapter 26. Agrippa said to Paul, You may now present your case. So Paul motioned with his hand. Then he began to present his case. King Agrippa, he said, I am happy to be able to stand here today. I will answer all the charges brought against me by the Jews. I am very pleased that you are familiar with Jewish ways. You know the kinds of things they argue about, so I beg you to be patient as you listen to me. The Jewish people all know how I have lived ever since I was a child. They know all about me from the beginning of my life. They know how I lived in my own country and in Jerusalem. They have known me for a long time. So if they wanted to, they could tell you how I have lived. I have lived by the rules of the Pharisees. Those rules are harder to obey than those of any other Jewish group. Today I'm on trial because of the hope I have. I believe in what God promised our people of long ago. It is the promise that our 12 tribes are hoping to see come true. Because of this hope, they serve God with a faithful and honest hearts day and night. King Agrippa, it is also because of this hope that these Jews are bringing charges against me. Why should any of you think it is impossible for God to raise the dead? I believe that I should oppose the name of the Jesus of Nazareth, so I did everything I could to oppose his name. That's just what I was doing in Jerusalem. On the authority of the chief priest, I put many of the Lord's people in prison. I agreed that they should die. I often went from one synagogue to another to have them punished. I tried to force them to speak evil things against Jesus. All I wanted to do was hurt them. I even went looking for them in the cities of other lands. On one of these journeys, I was on my way to Damascus. I had authority and commission of the chief priest. About noon, King Agrippa, I was on the road. I saw a light coming from heaven. It was brighter than the sun. It was shining around me and my companions. We all fell to the ground. I heard a voice speak to me in Aramaic language. Soar, soar. It said, why are you opposing me? It is hard for you to go against what you know is right. Then I asked, who are you, Lord? I'm Jesus, the Lord replied. I'm the one you are opposing. Now get up. Stand on your feet. I have appeared to you to appoint you to serve me, and you must tell other people about me. You must tell others that you have seen me today. You must also tell them that I will show myself to you again. I will save you from your own people and from the Gentiles. I am sending you to them to open their eyes. I want you to turn them from darkness to light. I want you to turn them from Satan's power to God. I want their sins to be forgiven. They will be forgiven when they believe in me. They will have their place among God's people. So that, King Agrippa, I obey the vision that appeared from heaven. First, I preached to people in Damascus. Then I preached in Jerusalem and all Judea. And then I preached to the Gentiles. I told them to turn away from their sins to God. The way they live must show that they have turned away from their sins. That's why some Jews grabbed me in the temple courtyard and tried to kill me. But God has helped me to this day. So I stand here and tell you what is true. I tell it to everyone, both the small and great. I have been saying nothing different from what the prophets and Moses said would happen. They said the Messiah would suffer. He would be the first to rise from the dead. He would bring the message of God's light. He would bring it to his own people and to the Gentiles. While Paul was still presenting his case, Festus interrupted. You are out of your mind, Paul, he shouted. Your great learning is driving you crazy. I'm not crazy, most excellent Festus, Paul replied. What I'm saying is true and reasonable. The king is familiar with these things, so I can speak openly to him. I'm certain he knows everything that has been going on. After all, it was not done in secret. King Agrippa, do you believe the prophets? I know you do. Then Agrippa spoke to Paul. Are you trying to talk me into becoming a Christian? He said. Do you think you can do that in such a short time? Paul replied, I don't care if it takes a short time or a long time. I pray to God for you and all who are listening to me today. I pray that you may become like me, except for these chains. The king stood up. The governor and Bernice and those sitting with them stood up too. They left the room and began to talk with one another. Why should this man die or be put in prison? They said, he has done nothing worthy of death. Agrippa said to Festus, this man could have been set free, but he has made an appeal to Caesar.